Hello again, everybody. Well, today is a historic day. November 24th, 1863 was when the battles for Lookout Mountain happened. And we are here at the Confederate works that would have been set up, and the Union soldiers would have come from that side of the mountain and attacked. You can see that this area is relatively flat. There's large flat sections between here and the Craven's house. So it would have been November 24th, 1863, and here we are on that very same day, 156 years later. It's 2019. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little hike back towards the Craven's house and kind of see where the Union soldiers would have attacked. You can still see some of the works, but obviously after 156 years, there's not much left. So anyway, let's walk this way and take a look, shall we? This will be an interesting little thing. Now, obviously, I'm here at a different time period in the day than the actual battle would have happened. But still a pretty impressive bit of history. So guys, let's go take a little bit of a look and see what we can see, shall we? Let's go have some fun. Now the funny thing is, I said that it's relatively flat, and there are sections that are relatively flat, but you got to remember that we are actually on the side of a mountain. And while this section can be relatively flat, as you go further up the mountain towards the Palisades section, it gets a lot steeper. But we are going to keep going this way. Apologies for being a little out of breath still. I am still getting over being sick. Just one of those wonderful things. Of course, that always happens during the wintertime. You got to admit, though, cold or not, hiking along this section in the footsteps of what the Union soldiers would have done, and seeing little peaks of the Tennessee River had to have been most impressive. Now, one of the more interesting things is that while we are on national park land, you can see houses that are literally right next door to it. This whole section of the mountain, if you were to look at property lines, it's almost like dumping out a bowl of spaghetti noodles. Park Service owns some. There's also a group called the Lookout Mountain Conservancy. They own some. And other private owners own some. So it is a little bit confusing. Somebody left their blanket behind. Now, ironically, we're actually not too far away from the Craven's house. I believe that the earthworks trail to go to the Confederate earthworks is about a half a mile from the Confederates' position to the Craven's house. I think that's about right. And you can see there's some pretty impressive trees that have grown up too, because I want to say that back in the day, around the Craven's house, they would have had most of this flat area cleared. I mean, after all, they would have farmed a little bit of it, at least for the property owners. I don't know if you can see it down there. I'm using a different camera today, so I don't have a zoom. That looks like a fireplace of some kind. So maybe they've got a kiln or something. It looks like something's been built up. And you can see that the house is literally feet away from the property line of the national park versus the private property owners. That's what those orange sticks are right there. And this is a really good view that you can see here. I mean, just look at that. Now, granted, there's a lot more buildings now than there used to be. But what an impressive look. Here's where you turn to hike the Cravens Trail up to Point Park. But that is a rough trail. And now we're coming down into the Cravens house proper. Now, this all would have been cleared out. Now they've got a log cabin that they actually brought up from the Chickamauga battlefield. And it used to be that park rangers would have been able to live there. They've changed that policy, so it's kind of been a storage area. But one of the more interesting things is there were some storage buildings up against this hill. We're going to try to see one of them here in a minute. Now, I have much better videos of it in the past, so if you want to see the old cold room or cold house for the Cravens house, just go back through my old stuff. But if you look carefully, right there, you can kind of see a cleared out area. That, and there's kind of a tree laying across it too. I hope it didn't get injured. Maybe we'll take a peek at it here in a minute. But there would have been storage areas in here. So anyway, let's take a look and walk right on down into the Cravens proper, shall we? And if you ever do come up here, this is just one of many trails around Lookout Mountain that you can hike on. And here we are, coming in to the Cravens house. And it's definitely a popular day today. But let's try to go take a peek at the spring house, shall we? Luckily, even though the tree's fallen across it, the old spring is still there. Now, if you want to see what the spring looks like, go back through my older videos. I've documented this at least one or two other times, and it's a pretty impressive spring. And while I'm here, you can look, at least in the top part. Now, keep in mind that they've redone part of this. This is the old milk shed. And this is the only, most of the building that is original to pre-Civil War. Now, the other stuff got rebuilt. So anyway, and remember, down underneath is that cistern that the water would have supplied. And here we are. You can see the cistern that's literally down under the milk shed, and the water would have overflowed into that spot. And you can see that we are right beside the house. Well, everybody, that's all there is. As the daylight fades out and the sun sets on Chattanooga, Here we are 156 years later, where the Battle of Lookout Mountain would have happened. Just imagine that. Anyway, I am off to go on some more journeys. Until then, why don't you go on some journeys of your own? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.